If everyone would please rise for a pledge to the flag. Kathy, would you do a roll call, please?
Shepherd is absent. Lycans. Portillo.
Yes.
Oxley.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Finn is absent, and Wheeler is absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have approval of the minutes from August 13th?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Maloney, second by Porfinio. Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yes? Ayes have it. Thank you. Number 4, we have a public hearing tonight. Case number 2019-020, special use permit for planned industrial development, preliminary and final subdivision for Pro Lodges.
You would have, do you want me to say the verbiage beforehand?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so this is a public hearing for the special amendment to special use, case number 2019-020, just to make sure that anyone member of the public who's here to testify either pro or against the application, to make sure that we are respecting the decorum. Everyone should be civil. There should be no verbal outbursts, either pro or against, and anyone who is speaking should state their name for the record and be sworn in to testify that they're telling the truth and nothing but the truth.
Thank you, Sonny. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing, please?
So moved.
Moved by Porfinio, second by Likens. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Kimberly?
Thank you, Chairman. The applicant, Amy Zepka, on behalf of Prologis LP, is requesting amendment to special use permit for a planned industrial development, preliminary and final subdivision plat, and preliminary and final development plan in one step for buildings 6 and 7 to allow expansion of Prologis Industrial Park. The applicant desires to develop the 40 acres that had originally been retained by the prior landowner of the overall park and intends to develop the property as a unified industrial business park. The new development consists of 2 lots and 2 new warehouse distribution buildings with associated parking lots, utilities, and landscaping. The Commission may recall that a portion of the subject property along 143rd Street previously had commercial zoning and was rezoned to M1 Limited Manufacturing earlier this year. In exchange for the loss of commercial land along 143rd Street, the developer rezoned land along Archer Avenue as commercial. As a result, the layout of the Lot 5 changed slightly. The overall planned industrial development is being amended to address the 2 additional lots along 143rd Street, the rezoning, and other lot changes that have occurred since earlier this year. A master final development plan is displayed on your monitor. The development was approved with approximately 1.9 million square feet of warehouse and distribution space. The park will be expanded to include an additional 525,000 square feet of space. An amendment to the development agreement for the expansion has been reviewed by the city. According to the amended agreement, the additional lots are subject to the requirements established under the original development agreement. The agreement addressed extended building height, landscape ratio, and additional screening. Sound abatement studies and traffic impact studies were also required in the original agreement and have been updated to include the expanded areas. A planned development is listed as a special use in all zoning districts. A special use permit shall be granted only if evidence is presented to establish the findings of fact meet the criteria of the special use. Staff finds that the development meets the standards and criteria of a special use permit for a planned development. A final plat of subdivision was provided and is in compliance with the development code. And a final site plan, which is displayed on your monitor, for buildings 6 and 7 was provided. The plan shows the buildings are in conformance with the approved concept plans and with the bulk requirements of the City of Lockport zoning ordinance. Building 6 is a 205,954 square foot multi-tenant industrial building on 14.73 acres located at the southwest corner of 143rd Street and Prologis Parkway. The building is a single-loaded facility with dock doors located on the west side, with 31 docks total and 14 possible knockout doors. Building 7 is a 321,162 square foot cross-dock industrial facility on 25.82 acres located at the southeast corner of 143rd Street and Prologis Parkway. There are a total of 46 docks with 20 knockout doors and 4 grade-level doors. Building 7 has truck docks on the east and west sides of the building, with additional trailer parking along the east truck court. Typically, dock doors are discouraged in the front yard. However, a densely landscaped strip to screen the loading docks from Prologis Parkway has been provided. Adequate buffer, as required by the updated noise study, has been provided. Direct access into Prologis Business Park comes from 143rd Street to Prologis Parkway or from Archer Avenue. Building 6 has 3 access points, however, trucks can access from only 2 points. Building 7 is accessed from 2 full access points for trucks and cars off of Prologis Parkway. Both buildings have complete internal access via a drive aisle that extends around the full perimeter of the buildings. Public sidewalks have been installed in the public right-of-way along Prologis Parkway during Phase 1 of the development. Sidewalk connections with pedestrian crosswalks are provided. Parking is in conformance with the concept plan and the parking requirements of the city's zoning ordinance. Parking is based on the use, and the developer has assumed a 90-to-10 ratio for warehouse to office utilization. Building 6, automobile parking is located along the east side with truck loading at the west. There are no trailer parking stalls provided for Building 6. For Building 7, car parking is located at the north and south with trailer parking along the east side. Final elevations are in conformance and are displayed on your monitor. The final elevations are in conformance with the approved concept elevations. The buildings proposed will be similar to those constructed in the business park, precast concrete buildings with design elements such as accent panels with reveals and clear story windows. Building and color articulation have been used. The maximum building height within the M1 district is 40 feet. The applicant is requesting a building height of 37.6 feet, including parapet for Building 6, and a building height of 41 feet 6 inches for Building 7. Per the 2018 plan development, a variance allowing a 45-foot building height has been established for the overall development. Final landscape plans are in conformance with the concept plans and consistent with the remaining business park. All landscaping requirements have been met. A 60-foot width transitional buffer yard is required and provided along the south boundary where Building 6 abuts Lockport Heights subdivision. This has been met and exceeded with landscaping, wetland area, retaining wall, and 8-foot high fence. A 30-foot buffer with 8-foot fence is provided on the east boundary. The plan shows that the new development exceeds the minimum landscape ratio of 35% with 46%. Per the development agreement, the developer provided a pre-treatment process for stormwater runoff consisting of bioswales, which are located in the front yard close to Prologis Parkway for both Buildings 6 and 7. It's important to keep the areas surrounding the bioswales maintained and weed-free. The bioswales for 6 and 7 shall have sod surrounding the native plantings to minimize maintenance issues. Per the ordinance, sod is required in all front and corner side yards. A minimum of 10-foot mow strip around the detention areas is shown on the plans. A photometric plan was provided and is in conformance with the city's zoning ordinance and is consistent with the surrounding development. Engineering comments have been provided as follows. All engineering comments in the letter dated September 18th, 2019, must be addressed and approved by the engineering department prior to the committee of the whole meeting. Revised plans were submitted on October 3rd, 2019. In response to the comments, and a cursory review of these plans indicates that most of the comments appear to have been addressed. Detailed engineering review of these revised drawings is underway to ensure all engineering comments are completely addressed prior to committee of the whole. Engineering does not expect any material changes to the site plan being required in order for the applicant to address remaining engineering comments. Should the Plan and Zoning Commission find the requested actions for the proposed industrial business park acceptable, the following motions are suggested. A motion to approve the amendment to the special use permit for a planned industrial development, subject to the approval of the amended development agreement. And B, a motion to approve a preliminary final development plan and preliminary final subdivision plat in one step for buildings 6 and 7, subject to the following conditions. 1, all comments from Jamlin and Associates, the city's development engineering consultant memo, dated September 18th, need to be addressed either prior to committee of the whole or city council. A pre-construction meeting shall be scheduled with the Director of Public Works and Engineering or his designee prior to the start of construction activities. 3, the applicant shall submit a financial guarantee for all public and private site improvements. 4, the applicant shall submit all required engineering review and inspection fees. And 5, a 10-foot wide mow strip will need to be provided around the perimeters of ponds, especially in locations where the ponds are visible from public roadways, to maintain a neat and orderly appearance. The mow strips are to be shown at the time of final development plan. This concludes staff's analysis. The applicant and her team are here this evening to answer questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public wishes to speak on this issue?
Are there any questions for the applicant? Because this is the time to take them, and then after hearing the statements and testimony, then you could close the public hearing for deliberation.
Scott, Brent, Bill, any questions, comments? Go ahead.
The bioswale that's on the west side of Building 7, how far from the road is that? So there's no salt that's thrown on it when there's no snow removal? Salt might affect it negatively. Is that maintained by the city or someone for getting developed?
Let's get an answer to the first question.
Something in the narrative, I don't know. Is there a maintenance agreement?
The bioswales should be maintained by the Army Corps of Engineers.
No, it'll be that, do I need to swear in?
Yes.
Good evening. Would you please state your name and address for the record, sir?
Jamie Putnam.
You could do
Kinley
business
Horn.
address.
What's that?
You could do your business
I
address?
can do it, yeah, 1001 Warrenville Road, Lyle. Engineer for the project. The bioswales will be maintained by Prologis as part of their maintenance agreement, so they will be responsible for maintaining all those. Bear with me, I will find an approximation.
Brent, while he's looking up the distance, there's also a 3-year maintenance plan. So that means they have obligations to do 3 years' worth of maintenance and monitoring and submitting reports to the Army Corps of Engineers until they're satisfied.
It takes a while to do that.
So on like Building 7 on the east side, just from what I can see, just looking at the PDFs here, you're about 30 feet or so off the road, and there is a little bit of a berm on the Building 7 side. And then on 6, and what we did is, that was a requirement with the Army Corps for the original sites, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So we were also maintaining that idea for Building 6 and 7.
Those things are extremely sensitive, those things, a lot of maintenance.
Correct, and that's part of it too. So on like Building 2, the actually road drains into the bioswale, so it's constant maintenance, maintaining, making sure it all lives with what it's supposed to.
The sight lines from the subdivision, is it Lockport Heights?
Mhm.
For Building 7, it's screened by berm along Reliance Parkway. For Building 6, I see it says 8-foot fence, but is at like 735 on the west side of the building, so it's only about 3 feet higher than the finished floor of the building. Is it supposed to be, is there supposed to be landscaping on that side that's gonna be
8-foot
rather tall
fence.
to block it, or?
So it'll be with the,
Because everywhere else we had berms and fences on top of them for the other buildings, but here we didn't, and I was wondering why.
There's a 6-foot,
Because I think for buildings
retaining
3, 4,
wall.
and 5, they had.
it's a
berm
6-foot high retaining wall and an 8-foot fence on top of the wall.
yeah, so there's a fence on the wall,
So on
so,
the south side.
so you've got
Oh,
the,
back here?
on south side, so on the
Berm on
docks,
south. I didn't see one.
Detention.
around
there's a berm.
33 elevation around in the truck docks. And then you're gonna be 35 plus the fence, so you're another,
3.
But why is there not a berm there, I guess? Because the other ones had the berm
We
plus
got-
a fence.
it was just with the option with the sound study, we could do berm fence as long as we maintain that set elevation.
So sightlines were looked at to make sure that was obscured with the fence?
Yeah, it was more for the sound and everything else, just to match, that's how it all was with the whole park.
Usually you guys put a sightline diagram in there, and I didn't see one this time. What else? The traffic study, we didn't get a copy of it, so.
Yes, thank you.
What traffic study?
Wasn't there a traffic study done?
For what? This, the traffic study was done for the
Got
intersection.
that too.
But it was redone, or something, it said in the narrative.
Yep. And one thing too, I just want to note is that there is a screen wall for the truck docks on the southwest corner of 6. There is a screen wall across the whole truck dock area for all the trucks parked. Those will be blocked as well.
So when the intersection was modeled for the signal,
Mhm.
did you guys include originally buildings 6 and 7, or did you not? Wasn't there a strip mall or something you guys were assuming to the west or something?
That was commercial. We
Traffic.
changed that zoning from commercial. That's on Archer. That was moved to Archer.
That'll be building 5.
Where retail A, B, and C is on
Yes,
the big map?
yep, yes. I don't know if
And
there's a,
the queuing, the turning lane, it's real close
No.
to the interchange or intersection there. Are those trucks, I mean, if you have 3 trucks lined up, it's gonna block that intersection.
That's out of ours, Brent. That's county.
Well, I'm asking about the traffic study. Was there the queuing was looked at, and it was synced with the signal next to it to make sure flow goes through?
Yes,
How much distance between that, the 2 intersections?
yeah, we worked with the county, Will County, through the whole process.
Can you approve that then?
The county approved it. They've approved the traffic signal, which should be still scheduled to be installed next year.
I think that was it, thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing no other questions or comments, I'll have a motion to close the public hearing. Motion by Perfino, second by Likens. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, what's your pleasure? Comments,
We
discussion?
have 2 motions we have to make for approval?
Yes, A is motion to approve the amendment to the special use for a planned industrial development, and B is a motion to approve final development.
Were all the engineering comments taken care of? Or should we take care of before the?
We're still doing a detailed review of their second submittal. So they took care of a majority of our first comments. We are gonna make,
What's left?
no. Anything that's left is just like, kind of crossing the Ts, dotting the Is kind of things.
No issues then, okay.
Correct.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the amendment to the special use permit for planned industrial development, subject to approval of development agreement.
Second.
Motion by Porfirio, second by Maloney. Roll call, any questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
You've got it, Shepherd is absent, Likens. Yes. Porfilia.
Yes.
Oxley.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Finn is absent, and Weaver is absent, motion passes.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a second motion to approve the final development plan and final subdivision plan, subject to the 5 comments that are on the staff memo. I don't
Second.
have to read them, do I?
No.
No, we've got
We have them for, we have a motion by Porfirio, second by Maloney. Any comments, questions? Roll call vote, please.
You've got it, Shepherd is absent, Likens. Yes. Porfilia.
Yes.
Oxley.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Finn is absent, Weaver absent, motion passes.
Thank you, Kathy. Kimberly, when does this go before city council?
First Wednesday,
of November would be November 6th, I believe.
November what?
I believe that's the 6th, November 6th.
Correct.
November 6th for the committee of the whole.
Okay, thank you. This will go before City Council November 6th, 7 PM in this room. Thank you very much. One of our visitors tonight is Kevin Phelan. He's a student at North Central College. He's majoring in political science and history. And I talked to him today. He's interviewing, planning and stuff and interested in it. And I told him, come to our meeting. So welcome, Kevin.
Are you a runner? Because North Central is known, be a good track.
Kevin, don't agree to it. You'll have your running Saturday morning or tomorrow morning at 5. She'll have you running. Okay. Next, we have final development plans for Buildings 3, mass grading for Prologis Industrial.
Chairman, did we close the public hearing for this? This case is not public hearing. Okay,
Yes, we did.
thank you.
We
The
had a
next
vote on
case
it.
before you, 2019-019. The applicant, Amy Zepka, on behalf of Prologis LP, is seeking approval of final development plans for Building 3. The building is a 452,129 square foot multi-tenant building. Additionally, the applicant has provided engineering plans for the mass grading for Buildings 3, 4, and 5, which will not be subject to development plan review procedures and will be separate of the final development plan for Building 3. However, the mass grading plans are included with the submittal as they're relative to the future development. Preliminary plan for Building 3 was approved in 2017. The final site plan shows that the Building 3 is in conformance with the approved preliminary plan. The building is on 35.45 acres, and the plan shows that the building is designed with 2 office spaces. The building is a cross-dock industrial facility with dock doors located on the east and west sides of the building. There are a total of 57 dock doors with additional knockout doors. 8 grade level doors are provided. Building 3 has 3 access points on the north side of the building. Trucks and auto traffic would be routed to a shared access road between buildings 2 and 3. There's complete internal access via a drive aisle that extends around the full perimeter of the building. According to the plan, parking is in conformance with preliminary plan and the requirements of the city zoning ordinance. For Building 3, a total of 169 stalls are required and 253 have been provided. The parking is located along the north and the south sides of the building. An additional 53 stalls are land banked in the north parking lot for future development. A total of 87 trailer parking stalls have been provided and are located on the east and west sides of the building. Final elevations are displayed on the monitor. The final elevations are in conformance with the approved preliminary elevations. The building height, including parapet, is 36 feet. The building will be similar to those constructed in the business park, precast concrete with building and color articulation. At the entrances, more detail has been provided with metal canopies and glazing systems with aluminum frame. The building will be LEED eligible and sustainable design standards will be used when feasible. A final landscape plan was provided and is in conformance with the preliminary plan and consistent with the surrounding development. A bioswale has been provided on the west side of the trailer parking area. A photometric plan was provided and is in conformance with the city's ordinance. Engineering comments for Building 3 were provided and are as follows. Separate of this request for final development plan approval for Building 3, the developer intends to exercise their rights to mass grade the lots for Building 3, 4, and 5 at their own risk in accordance with the terms of their development agreement with the city. Section 6 of the development agreement permits the developer to mass grade these lots at its own risk prior to final development plan approval, provided that a preliminary grading plan is reviewed and approved by city staff and the developer posts a restoration bond in the amount equal to the cost of restoration. In accordance with the terms of the development agreement, the developer assumes all risk of grading before final permit and agrees to modify grades if so required by the city. A mass grading plan set for buildings 3, 4, and 5 was recently submitted to the city and is currently under review. All engineering comments in the letter dated September 19th must be addressed and approved by the engineering department prior to committee of the whole meeting. Revised plans were submitted on October 3rd. In response to the comments, and a cursory review of these plans indicates that most of the comments appear to have been addressed. Detailed engineering review of these revised drawings is underway to ensure all engineering comments are completely addressed prior to committee of the whole. Engineering does not expect any material changes to the site plan being required in order for the applicant to address the remaining engineering comments. The fire district provided no comments at this time. The jurisdiction is the Homer Township Fire Protection District for Building 3.
Kimberly, for the record, it's Northwest Homer. Or, well,
The-
wait, no, that's Homer. Yeah.
Yes, the,
Jump between, yes. I'm
the
sorry.
development overall is in 3 districts,
Right,
and this particular building is in the Homer.
falls in Homer, yes.
Should the Plan and Zoning Commission find the final development plans acceptable, the following motions suggested. A motion to approve final development plan for a 452,129 square foot industrial building, subject to the following. All attached comments from Chamlin and Associates memo dated September 19th shall be addressed prior to committee of the whole. A pre-construction meeting shall be scheduled with the Director of Public Works and the engineering or his designee prior to the start of construction activities. The applicant shall submit a financial guarantee for all public and private site improvements in accordance with the city's development code. The applicant shall submit all required engineering review and inspection fees in accordance with the development code. And a 10-foot wide mow strip will need to be provided around perimeters of ponds, especially in locations where ponds are visible from public roadways, to maintain a neat and orderly appearance. This concludes staff's analysis.
Okay. Any questions, comments? We got nothing.
A couple of things. Again, the sight line's on the south end of building 3. The top of berm is at 724, the finished floor is at 722. It's a 2-foot berm. Is there a sight line that was blocked with trees there? Doesn't seem like the berm's high enough. Any wall around there, or fence, or
Well-
something else on top of the berm? I'm looking at the grading.
So, Brent, there is a fence on top of the berm.
Yes.
Okay.
So according to the study, it's the relationship of the parking lot to the ultimate height. And I believe it's 12 feet along the south end. And there's one exception where it actually has to be 16 feet, and that would be at the very, there's a fence. But if you've been out there lately, you'll see there's that 6-foot tall white privacy fence. It's gonna be just like that. Solid PVC.
And then you mentioned there was gonna be mass grading in building 5. They're not grading the building pad for 5, it's just like a swale going across. Are they gonna do that in the future then?
Yep.
Something planned down the road?
Yeah, we're just, the pad it's 3 and 4 pad, 5.
Then?
Excuse me?
That pond is for all 3 of the buildings there?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. Yep.
Anything else? That's it?
Okay.
You guys met all the ordinances and all the
Yep.
things in the staff narrative, so.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve final development plans?
So move.
Second, and with the 4 conditions on.
Conditions.
On the staff
Yes.
recommendation. Again, the engineering is okay. What's left?
Yes.
Any questions, any comments? Okay, we have a motion by Maloney, second by Porfinio. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Thank you. Okay, next case, final plat subdivision for Lockport Square, re-subdivision of lots 14A, 13B, and 19A. Rodney, you got it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the next two cases on your agenda are related. The first one, which is case 2019-017, is a re-subdivision plat. This plat is just re-subdividing some of the property as it was originally platted in Lockport Square. The result of this plat is it's going to create three parcels. One is what we call parcel 14A, and you're going to see that again in the next case because that's the property that FCA Realty is intending to buy to develop the new automobile dealership. And then there's a remainder parcel, 19A, that has no use intended right now. And then the third parcel is just the common access drive area. So this is relatively straightforward. Again, the impetus behind this is to get the parcel in the shape needed for what FCA is going to purchase and develop for the auto dealership. So if the commission's in favor of this, the recommended motion is to approve the final plat of subdivision of Lockport Square second re-subdivision. We do have one condition, and there's just some Scrivener's errors and notes that need to be cleaned up before it actually gets recorded.
Hey, thank
The
you,
applicant's here, Jim Purinton from, on behalf of Lockport Square LLC, if you have any questions for him as well.
Rodney. Okay.
I just have one. I'm wondering why the old 13A, 15B, 15A, and lot 150, why they weren't just combined in the 13B? Why is 13B only the middle third, I guess? Wouldn't it be more marketable if it was a bigger piece?
Wait, 13.
13B looks like it's from the east side of 14A only up to about halfway toward 355. Is there a reason why we didn't just make it the whole piece?
So, and again, yeah, and I'll, if I'm misspeaking for not knowing the history well enough, maybe Jim or Kimberly can jump in, but the property east of that, Commissioner Perfilio, is the parcels we've already dealt with for Marcus and Holiday Inn.
Right,
Ah,
that's where that came in.
they're all combined.
Two different owners.
Thank you very much
You're welcome.
for clarification. Motion, make a motion to approve the final plat of subdivision of Lockport Square second re-subdivision, subject to one condition in the staff report.
We have a motion by Porfinio, second by Likens. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote, please, Kathy.
Absent. Likens.
Yes.
Portillo.
Yes.
Oxley.
Yes,
Maloney.
Yes.
Pin is absent. Wheeler absent. Motion passed.
thank you. Okay, next case is 2019-018, amended to preliminary development plan and final development review for automobile sales and service facility.
Right.
Mr. Rodney.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in the audience, aside of our guest and our councilman, the rest of the people here are the team for FCA Realty. And they're proposing to buy this lot 14A that you just recommended approval of creating. So once that does get ultimately recorded and FCA buys it, they're going to develop a new automobile dealership, right? And it's going to be under the Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, and Jeep brands. Bentonhausen, a name you're familiar with from the area, is the selected operator for the facility. So what you have before you today is their package, basically, of what gets them ready to go build this new auto dealership. So you're going to be reviewing an amendment for the preliminary development plan and approving, if you're so inclined, their final development plan. And this is a minor amendment to the PUD because, as you'll all recall, this wasn't the intended use of this project in the beginning. So this is part of the land that was originally intended to be Home Depot at one point in time. And if you've been by there, and I know you all have over the years, you know that this is where the big retaining wall is. And even the parking lot for Home Depot and that shopping center, a lot of that was built and never got used. The base was put in, a lot of the curbs there, a lot of the light pole foundations were put in. So they're going to be reusing those parts of that they can and replacing the rest. I'll run through just some of the highlights maybe and touch on it. So the building's about 34,000 square feet, full automobile dealership. So in that building is their sales floor, their offices, their parts and service centers as well. There's a car wash inside the building. They're going to employ about 75 people is the estimate when they're fully up and running. Hours of operation, generally sales is Monday, Friday 8 to 8, Saturday 8 to 6. Service is Monday, Friday 7 to 7, and Saturday 7 to 4. Some other highlights. So most of the back of the property is where the service area is happening and storage for service vehicles as well as employees. All of that's gated. And at night, they'll be able to close off the entire site. Every entrance into this has a gate. So on the front part of the property, what you consider everything in front of the building, those are black pole gates that close. On the back, they're black-coated chain link gates along the back access drive. But at the end of the day, the intent is they can fully secure, and you're familiar with this from other car dealerships, right? When you guys go on the Sundays when they're not actually open, and that's when we all sneak in and look, right? So same thing here. They have other expectations that we would like to see. They have a well-designed trash enclosure at the back of the property, matches the building. They're going to also have, because of the service use, they have a used tire storage holding area, and that's all contained within that brick enclosure as well. Bike racks, benches, waste receptacles, all that's included in the facade of the building. One of the unique things that they have, if you saw in the full set, is they have a unique kind of Jeep display that's going to go up at the northeast corner, and there's also one at the front of the building where they actually have, an actual Jeep kind of mounting a rock. So unique to that use, but pretty cool looking. Couple comments again on some of the other details on the landscaping plan. Because of the nature of the front of this building, there's not the typical area we have for foundation planting, so we asked them to include some planters instead. So they have actually raised planters included. They'll have seasonal planting plans to put in those. So that was as an alternate to having normal foundation planting. The building meets or exceeds our exterior material requirements. It's a combination of brick, ephes, there's stone banding, metal panels, glass storefront panels. Relatively modern looking building, but very consistent with what else we've done out there in the center and the other buildings that are to come in the future. Very nice looking building. Signage for this use is obviously different than we'd have for most typical commercial uses, right? They have all those brands they need to put on the building as well as the dealership name. So what you see is what you get relative to signage, right? So they're actually showing you here all of the sign elements that are going to be on the building. If you approve it, that's basically the sign plan. So when they come in for individual permits, we'll compare it back to this. And if it matches this, that's what they're going to get permits for. So it's the what you see is what you get approach. The one thing I wanted to then wrap up with is just a discussion on lighting. Again, because that's unique here with auto dealerships, right? And as you all probably expect, and we haven't had a new car dealer here before, but auto dealerships like a lot more lighting, right? They have 536 parking spaces out front to park new car inventory, right? So that's tens of millions of dollars of inventory that people are going to shop through and also needs to be secured. Hence, a little more lighting comes with auto dealerships. That being the case, one of the things that we've done with some in the past is say we understand that you need more lights for security and for outdoor shopping when it's dark, but when you close down for the night, can we turn the lights down? And so they've agreed to do that. They're exploring right now how to best do that. So we're going to ask you to consider a condition which says that we want them to submit a second photometric plan before council, before this goes to committee of the whole. And what that plan's asking them to do is to show us a way that the lighting levels get dimmed by at least 50% when their normal business hours end. And so that's a way to kind of turn it down at night, but leave them enough security lighting. What they haven't presented the solution for that yet, because they have to analyze. There's 3 different ways they could approach it. Each light could be dimmed. Some lights could go off, others stay on, or a master dim. And so they just need to work through the mechanical discussion and decide which way works best, and then come back with the proposal for us. But we would ask that you do include that as a condition. So they're here tonight. We have their architect, we have the engineer, and representatives from FCA, if you have any detailed questions. And let me just conclude by saying, so if you're good with this at the end of the night, we do have a recommended motion, and that is to approve an amendment to the preliminary development plan and approve a final development plan for an automobile sales and service facility in Lockport Square, Lot 14A and Lot 6. And this is considered a minor amendment to the planned unit development of Lockport Square. And there are 3 conditions. They have a second review memo after their second submittal from Chamlin, and so that's following up with that's in condition 1. Condition 2 is the alternate photometric plan we talked about, which would show the dimmed lighting condition of at least 50%. And then 3, that they still have to come back in and get their individual sign permits. And I forgot one thing I did want to mention. So they're buying this proposed Lot 14A. They're also buying Lot 6, which is one of the existing outlots out on the front. They do not have an intended use of that lot right now, except they are going to put a Jeep sign, a monument sign out there. They intend to use it. It may be another auto dealer, auto sales, or related use to their business. Or if they decide not to do that, they may sell it and may become something else on that outlot. So for now, they're going to have a sign on it, and time will determine what ends up happening with that lot. So I've rambled enough.
One thing
Thank you.
I do have to say, they're missing the word Lockport in the site plan, because part of the stiff agreement is that they need to put the Lockport, whatever dealership in. So the signage right now may not necessarily be what the final product is, because we're missing Lockport.
I'm not aware of that condition, but we'll make sure it gets addressed, so.
Okay. Questions, comments?
I have one question. The used tire storage, how tall is it? How tall is the walls around it?
Jeremy, the question was, how tall is the enclosure for the used
Probably
tire
6 or 8
storage?
feet,
6 feet
same
or
as
8
the-
feet? 8 feet.
Industry standard?
Yeah, if you could respond, because we're recording all that.
It's the
sorry.
same as the,
Why? Let's see, for the record.
who cares?
Yes.
For the record, stop it.
My name's Jeremy Wilson. I'm here representing the client, FCA. I work for Gorey Architects, so
Yeah, the enclosure around the used tire storage, how tall is it, and what's the industry standard for that? You got a lot of cars on that lot. If there's, I don't know how big those are supposed to be. Just trying to avoid an eyesore along the back road back there. That's all.
exactly, you're exactly right. And that's the purpose for the screening, and industry standard is 8 feet. Anything less than 8 feet, then you start seeing tops of dumpsters and the lids that come up.
And the enclosure around the tire storage is the same as the dumpsters? And
Yes, sir.
it's modeled after the building, echoes the building? Okay.
Same materials.
Your operations plan for removal of the recycling, sorry. I turn my mic on. Operation plan, just to address what happens when the used tire enclosure starts to get full. What's the frequency of pickup or recycling, or the process for getting it emptied?
That would follow through with the end user. Obviously, I can't speak for their operations, but they would adhere to industry standards and regulations for disposing of used tires.
That's all I had, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Oh, I like everything I see in here. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, Benhausen has a good name around here. I think they have a dealership in Tinley too, right?
Yeah, that's what they started out at.
Downtown.
And on 159th, yeah. Okay,
Okay,
pleasure.
make a motion.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Hold on a second,
Jeff
please.
wanted to.
Hi, I'm Jeff DeSano. I from CBRE. I represent FCA. You were mentioning the Lockport name or whatever. I didn't understand.
Yeah, the STIF agreement, the Economic Incentive Agreement, has a provision in which Lockport has to be in the actual name signage. So sort of like, just to use like Toyota of Romeoville or
Benthausen of
Bentonhausen of Romeoville. Something, we're giving a lot of tax incentive for this development, and we want to make sure that the city of Lockport is highlighted and make sure that that's in there in the signage. So hopefully there's some plans to put Lockport either below or above Bentonhausen, you know.
Yeah, I understand now.
Yep.
I remember now.
Part of the
Yep.
signing permit review, we would make sure that's
That,
included,
yep,
right?
it would have to be part of the agreement, and they would have to come.
That's a lot of letters.
Yeah.
A lot of dollars. Okay, then, so, motion to approve the amendment to the preliminary development plan and final development plan for automobile sales and service facility in Lockport Square, Lot 14A, and Lot 6 for a minor amendment to the planned unit development of Lockport Square, subject to the following three conditions in the staff memo, including the word Lockport and the signage permit review. I think that's the only motion we need, right? One motion.
Yes, it is. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Maloney. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
You got it, Shepherd, yes. Lycett? Portillo?
Yes.
Oxley?
Yes.
Maloney?
Yes.
Ken is absent, Ritter absent, motion passed.
Thank you very much. This will go before the City Council November 7th, Kimberly? 6th, I'm sorry. 7 PM here. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Just under, is this unfinished business or new business?
Go ahead, Sonny, we'll let you talk.
Just
under that.
to make sure that, I think Commissioner Likens indicated that due to work scheduling, you would no longer be able to serve on the H&A or who? H&A, yes. So per section 150.23, we need another member of the Planning and Zoning Commission to serve as a liaison to H&A.
Okay.
And I believe Chairman Oxley indicated his willingness to do
Yes,
that.
I do that.
Yeah, we'll do that, and the idea is that, and it will probably require an amendment to that section, that the Planning and Zoning Commission member be a one-year term as a liaison, so then it rotates, and so one member is not, you know, burdened with having to be the liaison for the full 3 years.
Okay. Thank you, Sonny.
The reason I'm doing this is because I've accepted a position as a board member for the Lockport Resource Center.
Ah,
That's right. A very good
Thank you,
place,
Scott.
so.
Great organization.
Yeah, great organization, yep.
I just needed to unload one piece so I could take on another.
yeah. Okay, any other questions, comments? Accept the motion to close the
So moved.
adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, good night.
I like those fast meetings.
Stop it.